Hello everyone. So today we are going to see the introduction to Visual Basic 6.0. So before we know about the Visual Basic 6.0, we need to know the classification of programming languages. So the programming languages are classified into three types: machine language, assembly language, and high-level language. The machine language is also called as a low-level language, and only the machines, the computers, can understand this type of language. It is a combination of zeros and ones, and hence it is zeros and ones are called as a binary digit because there are two digits. And the second is the assembly language. It contains mnemonic codes. And the third is a high level language which the human can understand, either C, C++, Java, etc. So the concept here is the machine language only the machines can understand. The high level language only the humans can understand. So there must be an intermediator between the machine language and the high level language. So we use the concept called as a compiler or interpreter. They both are translators which translates a high level to low level and vice versa. So the compiler can translate the entire source program into machine language at a single time, whereas an interpreter can translate the source program line by line. Hence, interpreter is little time consuming. But the concept of both compiler and interpreter is to translate the high-level language to low-level language. Next, the Visual Basic. So the basic is called as a beginner's all-purpose symbolic instruction code. So it was designed at the beginning to teach programming to the beginners. So basic language is one of Microsoft's first product. So Visual implements a graphical user interface. That is, it uses graphics in different applications. So Alan Cooper developed VB and it was sold in the year 1988 to Microsoft. And there are different versions of VB. VB6 was introduced in 1998 and it is a part of the package known as the Visual Studio 6.0. So these are the Visual Basic versions. It starts from 1 to 6 and 6 has improved in many areas, especially in database connectivity, GUI, and it uses the Internet Explorer and so on. So install and exit Visual Basic. So to install Visual Basic, we need to install Microsoft Visual Studio 6.0. Then we can go to Start, All Programs, Microsoft Visual Studio 6.0 and Microsoft Visual Basic 6.0. So to close the Visual Basic application, there are three ways. We can click the close icon in the upper left corner of the screen or press Alt F4, or we can go to the File menu and click Exit. So let's see the features of Visual Basic. So the Visual Basic has the IDE, that is the Integrated Development Environment. So it contains inbuilt compiler, it has editor, it has tools for easy development of code. Second is a GUI, that is a graphic user interface. It is easy for the developer as well as for the user who uses the VB application. It is easy for interaction. Next is the object-oriented programming. So this concept is introduced in the Visual Basic and all the tools and the tool used in the programs are called as the objects. So hence the object-oriented programming concept is included in the Visual Basic 6.0. Next, it has two types of debugging. One is a runtime debugger and the second is a debugging managed code debugger. Then Visual Basic is an event-driven programming languages because it has types number of events like we can click or we can use double click, and it is normally called as an event-driven programming. So when a click happens, when an event occurs, then some action will be performed immediately. Next is the modularization, that is subprograms, dividing a large program into subprograms so that it is easy for coding and easy to debug. Next is it has the data access features. We can connect to the MS Access database or to the SQL server. Next, we'll see about the Visual Basic IDE, that is already we have seen integrated development environment. It mainly describes the interface and the environment which we are going to use to create our applications. Then we can all the tools are integrated and we can access them virtually, and hence it comes under the Visual Basic IDE. IDE is also referred to as the design environment, and it comes along with the compiler, debugger, editor, and it makes the code easy to develop as well as easy for the user to understand it. So this is a Visual Basic IDE. It includes a menu bar, toolbox, toolbar, etc. So this is a common view of the Visual Basic integrated development environment. So we'll see the Visual Basic IDE one by one. First is a menu bar. So the menu bar contains the standard menus like file, edit, view, etc. Second is a toolbar. So toolbar contains the icons of the most frequently used commands. Third is a toolbox. It comes in the left-hand side of the screen. So it contains a collection of tools to design the project. Then the form, the place where the user is going to design the graphical user interface. So that is a form design. We can add any controls or graphics or text. Next is the property window. Every tool has a property. So might be a size, color, or the font. So this can be changed manually or during the runtime from the property window. Next is a project explorer window. It contains a list of forms and the modules and the project, how many forms we are using. So to know more about the project which we are dealing with, we can see the project explorer window. Next is a form layout window. So this is a small screen where we can see how our form will be displayed during the runtime. The code editor window is where we type the codings, the programs for the particular tool. So Visual Basic Project can also be called as VBP. So we can go to Start, All Programs, Microsoft Visual Studio 6.0. We can choose Microsoft Visual Basic and the new project window will appear. From that, we are going to choose a standard exe. It is called as a standard executable project. Next is a form. So to add the form, we can go to project menu and we can click on add form. We can add how many ever forms in a project. So any number of forms can be added to design the forms by the user. So the form properties, we are going to see a few form properties. So when we click on the form, we can see the property window there. We can see the caption, back color. We can see the control box. So the properties can be changed manually by the user. Few properties has to be typed or few can be selected from the drop-down list. So the concept of VB is methods, events, and properties. So all the controls in the toolbox except the pointer are associated with a property, with a method, and an event. The pointer tool doesn't have these three. So the properties tells the characteristics of an object, might be the size, color, or its behavior. The method can be refresh or set focus. Only two methods are mentioned, but there are a lot of methods. It can be defined as an action that can be performed on the object. For example, to learn this more precisely, or if we consider cat as an object, its properties can be blue eyes or white hair, etc. But the method of the cat can be jump, play, etc. So this is a difference between the property and the method. And the last is the event. So when will this happen? When we click or when we double click, or that is called as a event. So the Visual Basic toolbox, it will be seen in the left hand side. Toolbox, it displays all the standard Visual Basic control. The user can place a tool on the form and then he can work with the tool. Every tool in the toolbox has a property except the pointer, and the property can be changed manually or during the runtime. So to place a tool on the form, we can just click on the tool and draw it on the form, or we are going to just double click on the particular tool. So it will be automatically displayed on the form. So the first tool is a pointer. This is the only item in the toolbox. It does not draw a control. We can just select it. We can move it. Second is a picture box. So using the picture box, we can add images or we can give some input pictures on the form. Third is a label. Label acts as a title or as a caption. The user cannot change it, but we can know something about the particular tool, like caption. So next is a frame. So the frame is used to group a set of tools or controls so that it will be easy to move it over the form. Next is a command button. It acts as a switch. So when we click on the command button, some event is going to happen. Text box. Text box is used to enter and to display text. Not only text, even numerical values can be taken as an input or we can display it. So text box has in the property window, it has no caption, but we can give some space. There are some spaces available to enter the text. Next, we have the option button. So the option button, well, we can have a different number of options, but the user can select only one from the option. It is also called as the radio button. The checkbox also, if there are many number of options, the user can select more than one from the checkbox. That is the difference between the option and the checkbox. Next is the V scroll and the X scroll. That is a vertical scroll bar and the horizontal scroll bar. Next is the list box and the combo box. So the list box contains a list of items from which the user can choose the items. So it lists the number of items. And the combo box has a feature of both list box and text box together. So the user can either choose it or enter in the text box. Next, we have the drive, directory, and file list box. So they are often used together for opening or selecting files stored in the particular secondary memory. The timer control is mainly used in animation programs. It is not visible on the form, but when we use it, when we give some timer for that, we can have animations here on the form. The data control is used to link the database. As we saw previously, SQL or MS Access, we can link the database to the form. Next, we have the OLE, that is the object linking and embedding. We can connect to other programs to the application. So we are going to see few common properties in VB 6.0. All the properties can be they can be added during the runtime as well as manually. So the manually we can change it in the property window, and we are going to see how it can be added during the runtime. So the first is a back color and the background color and the foreground color of the text. So they can be set using the runtime as follows. For example, we have changed the back color of the label button to red, that is VB red, and foreground color of the text to VB blue. We can also change the font, that is a font size, bold, italic, etc. Then we have the caption. The caption is to tell the user the title or the caption. It is used to express the tool about to the user. Next is the text. It sets the text in the text box. Then we have the left, top, width, and height properties of the form. So the visible, it tells whether the object is visible or it is hidden. When we give it as false, the object will be hidden to the user during the runtime. Next, enabled. Now, it will be visible, but the object cannot respond to the particular tool when it is set as false. Then we have the mouse pointer and mouse icon to give the set focus. If the particular command has to be indicated, then we have the set focus. We can give it in the code, or we can use the tab index or the tab stop. Thank you.